Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays and welcome back to another top 5 episode. And today we are taking a look at the top 5 most played tier 10s. Now, some of these are a surprise, some of them not so surprise. And I was looking into this, and bear in mind this is over the last 3 months, so the last 90 or so days. Tomorrow or the next day, I'll actually be bringing you the top played premium tank. Now that is a surprise, but for today, top 10 most played tanks, and the first up is the Kranwagen, and 13,070 people have been playing this tank in the last 90 days. Is this a surprise? I don't think it is. No, it was a new line, not the newest of lines, but it's a nice tank. It's a very nice tank. It's good for tournaments. It's popular, and I wasn't really surprised at that this being in the top 5 at all. I was expecting it. I was expecting it. Whether to be at number 5, I don't know. But the tank is amazing. When played correctly, the tank is amazing. If you can get this tank hold down, then literally nothing can penetrate you. Now, there was a few surprises that wasn't in the top 5, and that is tanks like medium tanks like the T62 or anything like that. I was surprised that didn't make the top 5. And tanks like the Vickers. The Vickers has been very, very popular since that come out. I was surprised that wasn't in the top 5 either. So the Kranwagen, an amazing tank. If you haven't got the tank, definitely go grind. It's definitely worth the grind. That is coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4. Again, this is something I was surprised about, and that is the Sheridan. Even without the missiles, a few people are still playing the tank, but I'm assuming this will gradually go down. 14,150 people over the last 90 days have been playing this tank. Now, because it is over the last 3 months, give or take, in that time, the missiles was still available. So I can see that the Sheridan will gradually go down with the amount of players. I mean, it's still a great tank. I still think this. I personally think the tank is better than with. I think it's better without the missiles, because the missiles is only good for people that knew how to play the missiles. Whereas without the missiles, anyone can just switch the heat and be able to penetrate you. If you can't penetrate a tank, or you're over a building, then you haven't got to sort of lob a shot over and try your luck with getting that missile in. So using the missiles, yes, they was annoying. Yes, they didn't belong in the game, but really it only helped if you was good at using those missiles. To be honest, anyone can fire heat. Anyone can just run past you, load up the heat and fire heat into your face. It's all still good penetration. It still does good damage. So yeah, I think it's still going to be a popular tank. It is a popular tank. I think it will forever be a popular tank. But at the moment, it is number 4 in the most played tier 10 tank in the game. So coming in at number 3, I was actually very surprised about this. I knew it was a popular tank, but I didn't think it was at number 3, like the 3rd most played tank in tier 10, and that is the E100. 14,657 players have been playing this tank over the last 90 days. Now, as I've said, I am surprised that this made the top 5. The only heavy tank in that top 5, well, apart from the Kranwagen, sorry. So there was 2 heavy tanks, but there was nothing in. I thought tanks like the IS-4, the IS-7, things like that. I thought maybe even the FE215B. I know that's not that popular, but I thought it would be more popular than the E100. The E100 is a very difficult tank to play, but I think it's more popular with the newer players or people that know about the history of tanks. And I mean, people that know history of tanks. I'm not a lover of history, to be honest. But what I do know is the Tiger is a very popular tank, and it's a very well-known tank out of the game. So when people do start playing the game, the majority of them does go for tanks like the Tiger or the King Tiger, the Tiger 2, and of course, because they go for for them tanks, the E100 then follows that. So that is my theory anyway. That's why I think the E100 is the third most top play tank in tier 10. That's the only thing I can think of, because it is a difficult tank to play. You can't just roll up in it. It is a good tank when played correctly. When not played correctly, I've done a video on it before, it's a noob tank. It's a noob's tank. Noobs play this tank, and that is correct, because it's got a big gun. They think it's a super heavy with super armor, when that really isn't the case. You've only really got super armor when you are angling correctly, or when you're playing the tank correctly. You can't just roll up and expect to deal damage. You can't roll up and expect to block a load of damage. Now this game here, we are actually going to see a lot of block damage, because he's angling correctly. He's coming up against the teams that don't really, for some reason, know how to deal with the E100, and he does play as if like he's not looking directly at a tank unless he is ready to shoot. When he's on a reload, he looks away, and that's what you've got to do in the E100. Obviously, we're going to get some troll bounces from behind there. So yeah, when you're not looking at a target, you have to look away. You have to angle your bottom plate, because your bottom plate is really, really, really weak. Your cheeks either side of the gun is really, really, really weak. So I actually think this could be buffed a little bit. I do think that there are some heavies, there are some TDs that can actually shoot the cheeks with just normal rounds, but I do think they should buff the cheeks, especially there is a line sort of just under your gun that people can shoot, especially when you're face hugging tanks, that people can shoot with AP all day long and they will not bounce. It's only a thin line, but I mean, it's easily pennable. So I would love to see the E100 actually to get buffed, the cheeks to get buffed at least. So at least anyone that comes against it will have to shoot Pramo to pen those cheeks. I'm not asking him to buff it so even when you switch to Pramo, you can't pen it. But I do think it should be buffed to at least where people have to shoot Pramo. Now, medium tanks coming up against this tank, yes, they do have to switch to Pramo to be able to pen your cheeks. But other than that, I mean, look at this now. He's got a couple of tanks in front of him. He's on a reload. He's not looking at them unless he has reloaded. Excuse me. Once he's reloaded, he turns, faces the tank to take the shot, and then once he's taken the shot, he looks away again. And that is how you have to play this tank. Now, this guy's managed to bounce 5,000 damage, which is absolutely insane for an E100. Now, sadly, he's not going to pull off the win. He is going to get another bounce. Again, he's at that kind of angle. That was a lucky bounce, if I'm honest. But that is the E100. Good tank when you know how to use it. And that is the third most played tank in Tier 10. The second most played tank in Tier 10, I was surprised at, and that is the Grill. The Grilla 15. 15,570 people have been playing this tank over the last 90 days. Again, the E100 gets a lot of stick. It gets so much stick because people don't like it. They think it's shit. I love the Grill. Personally, I love the Grill. I'm surprised at it being... I do see a lot there. I do see a lot out there. A lot of people are playing the tank, so I knew it was popular. But I think the most reason that this is popular is because people want the waffle, and obviously a lot of people play the waffle, they grind the Grill, and then they just go on to the Grill. It's a fast tank. I definitely don't think it's the best TD in Tier 10. I do think things like the E3 is up there, the FE455 is up there with the consumables that it's got, the OP consumables. However, the Grill is not getting a buff, but it's getting the spool liner, it's getting the reticle, the calibration thing, the reticle calibration that does less, the aim time and shit, something like that. I can't remember what it does in the next update. But yeah, I was very surprised to see that at the second most played tank in Tier 10. Coming in at number 1, it's still this bad boy. It's still the Death Star. the most played tank in tier 10 and one of the most played tanks in the game, actually. It still falls behind a few tanks, but it's still up there. 16,973 players have played this tank in the last 90 days, and they play it for one reason alone, and that is that. 14, nearly 1,500 damage into a tank. Now, the tank itself is not a good tank. It's below average. It's the worst performing tank in tier 10, and it has been the worst performing tank in tier 10 for years, because it just gets obliterated. People find the Death Star and they hunt the Death Star down, and they try and get rid of the Death Star ASAP because they don't want to be shot by that big massive gun. So yeah, I'm still surprised to see this at number 1. I expected to see it in the top 5. I did expect to see it in the top 5, but the most played tank in tier 10 is the Death Star, and that is it because of one reason and one reason alone: the Hesh. I mean, 700 damage there with Hesh, and that was just splashing it. That's why people want to play the tank. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.